Welcome to the New Lead Order podcast. I'm your host, Marjorie, and I'm joined today by Puja Madan, founder of the Mindfulness Map and creator of the Self Leadership Framework. Puja's work blends Eastern spiritual wisdom with evidence-based leadership practice to help leaders grow without burnout. What she's building with self speaks directly to two themes that I'll be speaking with her about today. The times that we're in that is calling us inward towards greater awareness and mindfulness, and a leadership that must evolve and adapt to meet this call, both now and for the future. So I'm really excited to dive in with her today on this conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. Pooja, welcome to the New Lead Order podcast.
Hi, Marjorie. So good to be here. Thank you for having me.
I've been so excited about this conversation, not just because of the topic, but just being in conversation with you. I love being in conversation with you. And last week I got an opportunity to attend your meditation, and I wanted to just thank you for that. It was so beautiful, so needed. And, I want to thank you for your service to the community and gathering these spaces and bringing people together to help us become more mindful in a way, which is really the heart of your work. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. I'm going to start crying early on in the podcast. Are we ready for that? Well, it was so lovely to see you. It's like we live in different universes, right? So there's my business world and my business network, and then there's the meditation community, and
Yeah.
you were there from my business community. And it just felt so wonderful when these worlds blend, and it meant a
Yes.
lot to me that you made it out there.
That's
And
right. That's right. And I think that that's the way it should be. You're bringing people together, in different spaces, and so I'm looking forward to the next one, most definitely. Um, so let's start this conversation by really talking about the call to go inward. Like this isn't something new that you've been doing. And actually, I think the first time I met you, it was in that space where you were gathering people to do this inner work. And we're living in a time right now that really feels like it's pushing us to slow down and to look inward. So, why do you think this moment is calling for greater mindfulness and self awareness, and not just on an individual level, but also collectively?
yeah, I love the question. There is almost, we can feel it in the air, like the momentum that has been in motion for all of these years. There is some forced slowness to it.
Hmm.
And the way I see it is that sometimes things can happen to us in our personal life that force us to slow down. We might have someone we love who we lose unexpectedly, and it makes us ask ourselves, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? What do I want to do differently?
Yeah.
You know, or we might get sick. There are some moments in our life that really force us to stop and rethink our entire paradigm. And it seems like COVID did that to all of humanity. It was just like this, the brakes on this momentum, but a very mindless momentum if you think about it, just chasing the next thing and burning ourselves out and doing what the world tells us is important to be successful, checking those boxes. And I feel with COVID, everybody was forced in because they couldn't go out and the distractions had been stripped away. And since then, that reflection has gotten more amplified. We have been forced even more deeply into our inner consciousness and ask those hard questions that require our courage, that require us to boldly change direction and claim
Mm-hmm.
life as our own in a more authentic way. And that requires self-awareness. That slowness infuses self-awareness automatically into our awareness, into our consciousness. We start to notice, I used to do this, but now I no longer feel energized, or this is what the world told me, but my heart is telling me this. All of that awareness can only happen when there is a slowing down from the pace, and we are not rushing from one thing to another. And this year, with AI and just the geopolitical changes, there is an even more intense
Mm-hmm.
internal self reflection.
Mm-hmm. So there's usually some sort of a catalyst that will bring us to that point.
Tell me one person or one culture that has willingly said, yes, let's change direction completely to a healthier place.
It's so true. It is so true. And I kept saying this too. It's interesting how we still talk about COVID. It was not that long ago when you really think about it, right? But it's almost like we've moved on, but the effects of that moment in history, right, was and I've said this from the very beginning. I was like, there's an opportunity here for us. And are we going to seize that opportunity in that moment? And so those moments to go in, right? We have to stay in, we're isolated. And yeah, we could have seen some of the maybe negative ramifications of people being isolated, but it didn't last for long, right? Now we're sort of coming out of that, but we're moving into another time as well. That's it's almost like from COVID, it's like, um, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, you're still not hearing me. So these moments are still asking for us to listen, right? And I think that people are getting it slowly but surely
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
It's like in our own lives, sometimes the first time around, we don't really want to get it. And then our body might
Mhm.
scream louder, or something else might happen
Yes.
externally. And then we're like, okay, it's becomes in Zen Buddhism, we have this expression called a choiceless choice, where the decision is made for you. You might
Hmm.
try and avoid making that choice, but at some point you're down on your knees and everything is different. And so I feel COVID was the first blow to that shaking of an existing paradigm. And
Yeah.
then the last year and this year are like the bigger blows to don't get comfortable. This is not how we're meant to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
the jostling,
Definitely.
the jostling of our internal structures
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
external structures too, for sure.
Yeah, it made me think about something that you said at the during the meditation, excuse me, about our bodies. And our bodies have a way too of sort of signaling to us, you know, if we're too tired, if we're getting exhausted, if something is wrong. And typically we pay attention until we start to get that kind of signaling. So it's the same way with our bodies also. Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact,
Yeah.
I would say the body is the loudest and most devoted. Uh, it rings the bell, like it rings the
Yeah.
alarm bells the fastest, but we actually don't look at them as signs of intelligence. When things are breaking in our body or things are shifting in our body, we just we just override them and want to go back, but the body is often the first place where
Mhm.
the signs show up.
Most definitely. So let's start to sort of connect the dots with this, with leadership and the work that you do. So we've been talking about this call to go inward and what it means for us collectively. And you've created something really powerful to help leaders do just that with your self-leadership framework, right? And it helps leaders work through burnout to help them increase their engagement and lead with clarity, even in high pressure situations. And I love the information that you share on LinkedIn. In fact, for those of you listening, you need to follow Puja on LinkedIn. I'll make sure and put her LinkedIn profile in the show notes. But can you walk us through the essence of the self framework and how it guides leaders to stay aligned in these changing times?
Yeah, of course. So again, going back to COVID, and that was the inflection point for many things that shifted, including in my own professional journey. I was doing up till that point very standard leadership and executive coaching. The topics of discussion were contained to leadership development, things like conflict management or succession planning, and you know things that would develop their leadership skills. And there were heavy influences of emotional intelligence there for sure. But with COVID, something very interesting started to happen, which was that the discussions had a very wide ranging content to them. So clients would come to me, and instead of how to manage their team remotely, the discussion would turn to, I'm in recovery and I'm turning to that glass of wine. Or the gym is closed, I'm no longer able to work out and I'm losing my mind. Or I'm at home working with my spouse and I'm finding out that we don't actually get along so well and we were basically hiding our the the problems in our marriage with work and other distractions. And so it became, I had to meet that moment with a totally different lens and a deeper capacity to meet them where they were. And I would start these sessions with, let's just do an assessment of where you are on these four areas of your life: the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. Just give me a number from 1 to 10. And that assessment began to spawn a whole range of discussions where, for the first time, I got to see the real human side behind these executives, these leaders, these titles, these award winning, highly accomplished, high performers. And it was so apparent that they needed to be seen and met and understood at a deeper level and at a more holistic level as their whole self in order to come out of this very difficult time. And when I looked through my notes, there was a very clear system, like it was almost like a new operating system for leaders that uh, that just encompassed all areas and aspects of who they were, that we were not having to shove them under the rug to build them to their fullest potential, for them to express and explore their fullest potential. So self is like an expansion of the four pillars. The S is for signature, which is our mental pillar, about our cognitive, being in our cognitive highest function, working in our brilliance, our zone of genius, that thing that we were sent here to do, using our mind for the right purpose. Then the E in self is for embodiment, which is the part where knowledge transmutes into wisdom, where we are, it's easy to say the things, but to walk that talk and for it to live in the body as an integrated with truth. That is the embodiment part, and it's often the most challenging for leaders who value their mental plane, right? Like if all you know is how to think and solve problem and make decisions from the mental plane, then embodiment is challenging but very, very rewarding, to actually drop into the body's intelligence and say, everything checks out about this candidate on paper, and yet something in me is saying something is off. And getting more and more in partnership with the body's intelligence. So that's the embodiment part. The L is for lodestar, which is our internal compass. So that is our emotional plane, where we tend to think of our feelings and emotional states as very fickle, frivolous, all consuming states. but they provide very powerful, like an internal GPS almost, for whether we are in alignment or not. And so, how to get really in tune with where we are at and going deeper around our value systems and things like that, so that we are being guided in the right direction. F is the fuel, that is our spiritual plane. And this is very subjective for everybody. Some of For some leaders, this is literally a faith-based practice where they turn to a faith to guide them through the hardship. For some others, it could be community or nature or a deeper why, a bigger purpose, anything that holds us together when we are lost and when there is uncertainty. There has to be something more than just our internal resources. There's got to be a greater sense of connection that
Mhm.
holds us. And that's the fuel part of the self framework. That's how it came together. And
That's
yeah, that's what
beautiful.
it does.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that because it reminds me a lot of what I talk about with my work as well in leadership. And I talk a lot about, intuition, embodiment, presencing, really tapping into your value system and leading from there. We have this internal intelligence within us that we tend to ignore, right? Or it's been suppressed in some way. And we are always leading by that mental intelligence, right? The knowledge that we know and the programming and the understanding around our work. And so being able to do that type of work is so important right now, Pooja. And I love that you put it in this framework self, meaning, the self. It starts with you. All of it starts with you, really. How difficult has that been for you to introduce this type of framework to leaders, especially those leaders who stay a lot in their head?
It's been fascinating. In some ways, self has become a naturally filtering system as I have brought this into the world of leadership and business development, in that leaders who have been on a journey of self-awareness can see this as the next step in the evolution of their leadership. And those who are still in that cognitive mode of where their worth and their value is limited to what they think, and how how they use their mental resources, it's almost like for them, it's like a self rejection rejecting system, if I can say that. Like, it does, there's no resonance. And so it is helping me draw in the right types of clients. And I've in my own journey, I've also dropped the need to try and convince everybody and jump over hoops
Mhm.
to convince people what this is. And if they don't get it, or if there is pushback, then to try even harder. And instead, I'm just resting in this embodied place of trust and faith, and knowing that there is enough people in this world right now who have awakened over the last 4 or 5 years to be like primed and ready. And this resonate, it sings to them, every cell in their body lights up as this is the thing we need next. And so it's fascinating to watch that self has become a natural filtering mechanism in my own business development process.
Hi, it's Marjorie here. I hope you're enjoying the conversation. I know I did, but I just wanted to pause for a moment to invite you into something deeper. The work Pooja and I are talking about, learning to trust your body, your instincts, and your knowing, it takes practice. That's why I created the Leaders We Need Now Masterclass. It's a powerful starting point if you're ready to lead with more courage and alignment and from a place of embodiment. So you can access it now. Just check the link in the show notes and you'll find it there. All right, back to the episode. Yes, yes, I love that. I have this affirmation that I'm open to alignment only. So so that means only those clients, only those people that are in alignment with me and my work and my values, those are the people because you don't want to be having this push-pull with your clients because you want there to be true transformation. And for that to happen, they do have to be open to that kind of work. So,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
absolutely. I
that's
love that. I'm open only to alignment. Is
alignment.
that what it is? Is that your
I'm open to alignment only.
alignment only? I love how clear and unapologetic it is. I also see it as working in concentric circles.
Mhm,
In some ways, those of us who came into this world with a vision for what is not yet, that we're creating it and building it, there is that additional responsibility of also educating people on these new systems. And so yes, there is certainly a deep resonance and alignment with those in the inner circle. And as we share and as we educate through platforms like this, I'm so grateful that we're doing this, having this conversation. There is also this hope in my heart that we are planting seeds,
mhm,
that for some people there might be pushback in this moment, but maybe in 6 months or 3 years
mhm,
something shifts and suddenly the
mhm.
words resonate. And in my own life, I've been in like a spiritual seeker for 20 years. I've been and now something sits with me that has been in my world for 20 years that a teacher might have said, and now I get it. So
Mhm.
I also trust that there is no time, no effort is ever wasted. It floats in the ethers to penetrate the right people at the right time.
I agree. And so thank you so much for saying that again, because I do have to remind myself of that, everything that I am doing and the things that I am saying, it's like I'm seeding right now. And I'm really thinking about the future of leadership. And this is why I wanted to have more of these conversations because we do sense this shift happening. And we do know that the space that we all, whether you're in leadership or not, we're moving into an era where it is going to, where it calls for more embodiment, right? And it calls for us to know who we are and what we are. So all of this, I think, sort of, works together. I want to go to a real place right now because as you've been talking about the struggle and burnout. And I'll be, honest, like, many women, I've done all the things. What I thought was all the right things. I followed the rules. I've gone the extra mile, done all of that. And to find myself sometimes feeling depleted, to find myself sometimes feeling like I don't know if I have it in me to keep doing this anymore. And from your perspective, why do you think, and this is for women, because women are really, that's my audience. That's who I work with female leaders. But there's such a common story for women leaders. And I want you to talk about how that framework also can help um, us avoid that burnout and also at the same time create more space for joy and energy and fulfillment in our lives.
Yes. Oh, let's talk about it. In my own life, I will say, just keeping, you said real, so I'll keep it real. I'm in the throes of perimenopause. It is completely destroying me, but it is also, again, even though I embarked on a very purpose-driven mission 14 years ago when I moved to the United States of doing this work, that was mindfulness focused, I still had my old tech world
Mhm,
mind,
mhm, mhm,
and I just inserted those old systems and kept going and chasing the next revenue goal, the next award. And this past year or two, everything has caught up with me in terms of how burnt out I have felt. So I'm also right with you on where all women leaders are. Most of the women leaders that I have been talking to recently, my clients have reached decades of experience, like, so they're in senior leadership, but they are going through the throes of menopause, perimenopause, just really coming apart. But in some ways, I always think of these moments as moments of crisis or moments of awakening.
Mhm.
And it's not about, can I keep going as I used to, but am I meant to go on in that way? And what used to be is an industrial archaic system of productivity, right? We are not meant to work 40 hours a week, not just because we can't, but because it is so outdated. It's literally like, what happened that we were still stuck here from 200 years ago? uh, and women especially feel the brunt of this because our bodies are so damn intelligent. They have their own system of productivity. We know exactly when in our cycle to do detailed oriented work, when we are most absorbent to new information, when to ask for that raise and to get on that stage for a speaking gig, when to rest and reflect and review things. We have our own productivity system. However, we've had to override it and plug into this old system that is killing everybody.
Mhm.
But because our hormonal structure is so much more delicate, it is killing us more and faster and harder. And so we want not even to think in terms of burnout, but we want to think in terms of, again, alignment and harmony with that embodied, when is my body primed for certain tasks? When is it time to schedule different types of things? I feel like women are uniquely designed biologically to lead in this new era of leadership, where wouldn't it be nice to slow down during the winter months? I mean, are we, when everything is shutting down, but we keep going at the same pace? I mean, companies are starting to talk about this seriously, like taking time off seriously around the winter, and just baking in more rest and recovery periods for grieving, if there's bereavement, all kinds of things. But I feel like the more we embody and own and don't apologize for how we are designed, the better role models we can be for the world at large. Because, men also don't know how it's supposed to be done. They have also plugged into systems that are killing them, but we actually have a system that our body has designed that can show us another way. And then when we lead, then everybody gets to benefit from those systems.
Mhm. Oh, yes. Most definitely, I agree. It's a rhythm, right? We have a rhythm. We have an internal rhythm, right? Our bodies have a rhythm. And when we're working in that way that you're talking about, we get disconnected from that rhythm. We get
Yeah.
disconnected from our bodies. We can't hear. So we're so off that rhythm, just like our body has that cycle every month, just as we're going through the menopause, right? I've been going through post-menopause for a couple of years. Every time I think I'm done, it's back again. It's like
I'm sorry.
and I would think to myself, and I haven't been like in an office working for years, since before COVID. And I thought to myself, how could I have survived like this in an office? All those hours and the commuting and everything. But you're so right. And I want to thank you for naming that and really talking about that, because as much as I've been saying that I almost feel like no one's listening, no one's connecting the dots. But you said it precisely, and I think that that's so important that we as women, we understand that part of ourselves, and embrace that, and be open to that. um that's so helpful. And I think it also connects us to something bigger too, because when you and I spoke a couple weeks ago, we talked about how there is this external revolution, the social revolution happening. And at the same time, many of us are going through our own personal evolutions. And we're watching these old systems, these old models, these paradigms, they're starting to crumble. And new models of leadership are now emerging. And so this is what I'm calling the age of the, evolved leadership. So what does evolved leadership look like to you?
Hmm. Hmm. When systems crumble, whether in our own self or outside, there is a period of terror because nothing that was familiar exists, but nothing new that we can hold on to has emerged yet. And this era of evolved leadership, for the most part, I feel it requires us to be so courageous,
Mhm,
honest with ourselves, willing to look at the mirror, willing to look at the uncertainty and still find something inside of us that feels stable. And that's why some of these mindfulness practices come in so handy, because we cannot always control what is changing both inside us. My body could be dying from cancer and I cannot control that, but I can, I can, something inside me can still be stable. And just like outer systems are crumbling and there's all sources of stability are being removed, that capacity to find that self, right, that stability within my own self,
mhm,
that being willing to be real, honest, courageous, authentic, being very cognizant of where my time, my energy, my attention is going, so that I'm fueling it in the right places, I'm investing in the right ways. It's basically asking ourselves the hard questions. Am I living for someone else or am I living for myself? What does my idea of true leadership mean? What does my idea of true success mean? What does happiness look like? You were talking about joy, and I think about how many clients have we had where joy does not exist even on the periphery. They have become so removed from that word, that experience, that embodiment. So, we cannot evolve unless we do a hard reality check on where we are. Because unless it's like the GPS pin has to drop somewhere to give us an exact location before we can put in a destination. And we need to do a hard look at where we are, an assessment of all areas of our life, and
mhm.
then evolve from there, and then make more informed choices that are anchored in self-awareness, in alignment,
Yeah,
authenticity, honesty.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm there. It's called this in-between space that you're talking. I've been talking about this for months. It's like, yes, it's a unearthing and unraveling, and it can be scary, but at the same time, it is exciting because it's also for those of us that can lean into this, it gives us an opportunity to really truly reimagine what does leadership look like for
Mm.
us in the future? What type of leaders do we need, right? What is life going to look like for us? Things are changing so rapidly. So we can get into that space of visualizing and reimagining, most definitely.
Yeah, it's almost like we have a choice at this point between, are we going to shrink in fear or expand with curiosity? And it's a shift in again, a choice that we have to make from moment to moment, because
Yes.
there are so many reasons to shrink in fear right now.
Yeah.
And we can also
Yeah. 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 Most
get excited.
definitely. So
Get excited, yeah.
So this is my closing question for you. If a leader is listening today, and I hope they are, could, and if there's one practice or perspective they could take away, what would you want it to be?
Oh, I would absolutely recommend and request everyone listening to slow things down, create some space, create some empty space of where there's nothing demanding your time. And in that emptiness, so many things can percolate, insights can make themselves available, wisdom can reveal itself. We have to give ourselves permission, though, to be willing to sit in the discomfort of that silence and that nothingness and that being state. Most of the time, we want to escape it by infusing a distraction. But if we can just slow the pace and allow for some stillness to happen, there's so much creative life force that can make itself available to us, that can align us in the right direction in this time. It's
Mhm.
such an important time to lay a good foundation.
Yeah,
It
most
requires.
definitely. And I would say be very intentional about that because we are not short of distractions. There's so many things that is just pulling for our attention. We're easily distracted. And so this work that Pooja is talking about, this must be very intentional and become a part of your life. It's a practice that must become a part of your life. So this has been such a rich conversation. I do feel like there's a part two for us in the future to come back and talk more because as things are evolving and changing, you and I can continue to have these conversations. And what I loved most is, how you remind us that, the work of leadership, it starts from within. I always say that change starts with you. And these are the times that are really asking for us to slow down, become more mindful, and to evolve into leaders who can meet the future with a sense of clarity, right? So for me, this is exactly what the new lead order is about. It's about reimagining new models of leadership that honor our humanity while we're navigating all of these changes between, technology and everything else. So thank you so much for joining us, Pooja.
Thank you so much, Marjorie. I also want to honor you for creating a space like this. I know you have been on this journey of deep, hard inner reflection. And I know how hard it is, how much courage it takes, but what you are doing and giving to the world from all of that is this gift. And there was such resonance in our conversation, and it's because you have been there, you have done that. That vision is the same that we share, and it is such an incredible joy and honor to do this dance with you. And I look forward to more. Thank you. Thank you.
I hope you'll take one of Pooja's practices and experiment with it this week and see how it shifts the way you show up, not just in your work, but in your life. Until next time, thank you for listening and thank you for being a part of this new lead order.